Hi everyone, my name is Kate, welcome back to my wondernetting channel. Well, it's been a while since our last crochet tutorial. Today we are making this gorgeous crochet top. It has elastic built into it. You can also easily turn this top into a dress. That was actually my original plan, to make a dress, but I realized it would take a lot longer to make it, so I decided to keep it as a top instead. But if you'd rather make a dress, simply keep crocheting until you reach your desired length. The writing pattern will be available in the iSTITCHER app. It's an app my husband created for the crochet and knitting community. There you can freely create your crochet and knitting charts, make grids with symbols, make pixel arts for your color works, for your card projects, and use helpful calculators like row counter, gauge, yarn estimates, and so much more. It's a really useful app. Just give it a try. It's available for iPhone, iPad and Mac. I leave the link in the description below this video in the pinned comment. Find this pattern in the section templates as soon as you open the app. If I have enough time, I also upload this pattern to my Etsy shop. This link will be also in the first pinned comment. If you will make this top as a top or as a dress, please tag me on your social medias. Another great thing about this top is that you can easily add straps if you'd like. You can make simple straight straps, thinner ones, wider ones, whatever style you prefer. Personally, I love wearing it strapless because the elastic keeps it securely in place, so it doesn't slide down, and it's just so comfortable for summer. Before we get started, please subscribe to my channel. Let's see if we can finally hit 1 million subscribers by this Christmas. Okay, I'm joking. But seriously, I'd really appreciate your support. This project is super beginner friendly, works up really quickly. So let's get started. So for this project I'm using this yarn. It's a fine weight yarn. I'll put all the details on the screen and in the description below. You'll also need a couple of crochet hooks. I'll be using 3.5mm hook and 5mm hook. Of course, the elastic thread, I'll be using 0.8mm elastic thread, and that's all. Of course, you can use any yarn you like, but if you want the light, airy look, I definitely recommend using a finer yarn. Now for the foundation. You can start however you prefer. I'll be using 3.5mm hook here. You can make a chain first and join it into a circle, but I'm going to start directly with foundation double crochets instead. It saves a lot of time. Start with a slip knot, then chain 3. Yarn over, insert your hook into the very first chain, pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the first loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook again, then finish it just a regular double crochet by pulling through all 3 loops like this. That's your first foundation double crochet. You can place a stitch marker here if you'd like. Now yarn over again, insert your hook into the base of that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through the first loop. Then finish it the same way by pulling through the remaining 3 loops like a regular double crochet. That's your second foundation double crochet. From here, just keep repeating the same steps. Yarn over, insert your hook into the base of the previous stitch, pull up a loop, pull through the first loop, then finish it like a regular double crochet. Keep going until your foundation row reaches the right length. Since we'll be adding elastic to the top later, I really recommend sizing this to your own measurements instead of following a stitch count. Measure around your bust, then add about 30 centimeters or roughly 12 inches. That's how long your first row should be. For example, my bust measures 86 centimeters, so I'm making my foundation row 116 centimeters long. I won't even count my stitches because it really depends on your yarn, hook size and tension. The length is what exactly matters here. Once you finish the first row, join it into a round. Your stitch marker should still be marking the first stitch. Join with a slip stitch, chain 3, then turn your work, and those 3 chains count as your first double crochet. Starting in the second stitch, work 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way around. That's all we are doing here, just simple rounds of double crochet. Eventually we are making a tube top, so at the end of every round join it with a slip stitch, chain 3, turn your work and crochet the next round in the opposite direction. Don't worry about the seam, it'll be pretty noticeable because this technique leaves larger gaps where each round joins, but we are going to hide it later with the gathered center of the top, so you won't even notice it. Just keep crocheting until the top section is as tall as you'd like. I'll be making about 26 rows, but again, that's completely up to you. Try it on as you go and stop once you're happy with the length. And this is what you should have at the end, a tube top like this. As you can see, it's about 30 centimeters wider than my bust measurement. Here's the seam, and this will sit right in the center of the top. This is where we'll create the gathered detail later. I'm using this clear elastic thread, transparent elastic thread. It's about 0.8 millimeters thick, and this spool has 100 meters on it. I bought mine on Amazon. There are also flat white elastic threads available, so feel free to use whichever one you prefer. The only thing that matters is that it's actually elastic, not fishing line. It's pretty cheap and you only need a small amount for this project, and 100 meter spool is enough for several large projects. My tube ended up being 53 centimeters around, so that's actually about 20 centimeters larger than my bust measurement, not 30 like originally mentioned. Honestly, if you make yours even bigger, that's actually a good thing. Once we add the elastic, the extra fabric creates nicer gathers and helps hide any gaps that might appear when the top stretches. Mine measured 53 centimeters across when laid flat, and the height is about 16.5 centimeters. Here's the center seam I mentioned earlier. This will sit right in the middle of the top. Now let's add the elastic. This is honestly one of the easiest way to add elastic to a crochet project. Thread your elastic through a yarn needle. Make sure you're working on the wrong side of your top, whichever side you've chosen at the inside. Now use the elastic through every other stitch, right through the center of each double crochet. You're basically going through the middle of the stitch, so the elastic stays completely hidden from the right side. Just continue viewing through every other stitch all the way around. As for the length of your elastic, measure it around your bust so it fits comfortably, then leave yourself about 10 extra centimeters, around 4 inches, so you have enough to tie a secure knot. For me, my bust measurement is 86 centimeters, so I cut my elastic to about 96 centimeters total. Once you're woven it all the way around, gently pull the elastic until the top fits the way you want it to. You want it snug but not overly tight. I've already added the elastic to the remaining rows, so I'll just show you how I tie it off. Tie the ends together really securely. I usually make at least 3 knots, 4 is even better, just to make sure nothing comes undone. For every row, cut a new piece of elastic or work straight from the spool, then tie it off the same way. Yes, you'll end up with quite a few little knots here in the center, but don't worry, this is exactly where we'll add the center band later, so all of these knots will be completely hidden. After tying them, trim the ends, leaving just small little tails. You could try viewing those tails into the stitches, but since the top stretches every time you put it on or take it off, they'll probably work their way back out eventually. So I think it's much easier to leave short tails and simply cover everything with the center band later. The top part is almost finished. We'll add a center band at the very end once the bottom section is done. Now grab your larger hook, don't cut your yarn, we'll keep working from where we left off. Chain 5, then yarn over 3 times. For this first row of the bottom section, we'll be making treble crochets, so every stitch starts with 3 yarn overs. Insert a hook into the very first stitch right under the turning chain. Remember, those turning chains count as your first stitch. Work 1 treble crochet, pulling through 2 loops at a time until the stitch is complete. Now yarn over 3 times again. In the next stitch I'm working 2 treble crochets. I actually be making 2 stitches into every stitch all the way around this first row. Yes, it takes a while, the top is already nice and wide, and now we are doubling the stitch count. But that's exactly what gives this top that soft, flowy look with all these beautiful colors. If you'd rather speed things up, you have a couple of options. You can simply work 1 stitch into every stitch instead, since the top is already oversized. You'll still get nice gathers, it just won't be quite as dramatic. Or you can alternate, work 2 stitches in 1 stitch, then 1 stitch in the next. Personally, I love the really full gathered look, so I'm sticking with 2 stitches in every stitch for this first row. After this, there are no more increases, every remaining row is just 1 stitch into each stitch, so this is really the only row where you need to decide how full you want the fabric to be. You'll still get a gathered effect even if you work 1 stitch in each stitch. I just can't promise it'll have quite the same airy flowy look. When you finish the row, join with a slip stitch into the very top chain of the turning chain, chain 5 again, turn your work and repeat another row of treble crochets. Actually, here's a little tip. For the second and third rows, I'd recommend making your stitches even taller by using 4 yarn overs instead of 3. That means you'll chain 6 at the beginning of the row instead of 5, then work the stitches with 4 yarn overs. Those extra tall stitches make the fabric feel even lighter and give the bottom of the top a really beautiful drape. From there, just keep crocheting until you're happy with the length. You can easily turn this top into a dress or a beach cover-up, just keep adding rows for as long as you like. There's no need for any more increases because we already added all the fullness in the first row. I'm only making 3 rows for the bottom of my top. When you are done, join with a slip stitch into the top turning chain, fasten off and cut your yarn. At this point, your top should look something like this. Here's the seam. If you wanted to, you could simply thread a piece of yarn through here and gather it together that way. But I'm going to add a center band instead. For that, switch back to the smaller hook we used for the top section. Chain 9, that exact number isn't important, it just depends on how wide you want your center band to be. Now work rows of single crochet. At the end of each row, chain 1, turn your work and keep going until your rectangle is the height you like. Once you're happy with it, fasten off, leave a long tail for sewing. Using a yarn needle, sew one side of the rectangle onto the center of the top, then wrap it around and sew the other side in place. You could even sew both sides using the same strand if you prefer. All that's left now is viewing in your ends and your top is finished. If you'd like, you can also add straps before attaching the center band. And that's it. As you can see, this project is super simple, works up pretty quickly, and the finished top looks absolutely gorgeous. I decided not to keep going and turn mine into a dress because in my case the bottom section takes quite a while to crochet. I actually love it as a top, it looks so cute layered over a skirt, it almost creates the illusion of a dress. It also pairs really well with the jeans for a more casual look. I hope you'll give this pattern a try, and if you do, let me know what you think of this top in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts and see your finished versions. Thank you for watching this video, I'm sure you did it well. If you have any questions, feel free to add them in the comments or DM me on my Instagram. Don't forget to check out the iSTITCHER app, the Yarn Atelier's yarn. Everything will be in the first pinned comment. I thank you again and we'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye cuties!